Right, what do you reckon? Should we go have a look at some tyres?
Yeah, go and have a look, yeah. See what we got and go from there.
Nice one.
Cool.
Right. Again, back when I rode kind of the Continental Der Kaiser was a brand new tyre and the go-to one, but now I see you have trial-specific brands making tyres for trials.
There's some interesting stuff. Tyres seem to have moved on, well not moved on, but they've changed. Bikes have got lighter, so what they've done with the tyres is they've gone with like much thinner sidewalls. It's hard to show in a video perhaps, but that's pretty thin and flexible.
Yeah.
So the tyre's much lighter. It's more supple, so if you compress it around an edge, it will compress more and it will give more bounce back. Downside is if you slam it into a corner, then there's no protection for the tube and it'll squash the tube and you can get a pinch flat. So
this is one thing I remember I really loved about the Kaiser is actually a really heavy tyre.
it kind of goes and sticks to stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. You could land on any kind of camber with this thing and you just stay there. I found some lighter weight tyres, I tend to get bounced around a bit. Is that still a thing? Is that
definitely still a thing? Yeah, I mean
technique.
No, not at all. I mean, if you put in quite a lot of weight on that, and it's staying in tyre shape. You know, and if you push it sideways across the floor, it stays in tyre shape. This is kind of a middle ground tyre that's not super thin, and it's just like you need the air in the tyre to support it to give it the shape. Whereas that has plenty of stiffness and meat in the actual sidewall.
Yeah. And what kind of weight difference are we talking? So I remember these being like over a kilo.
Yeah, probably 1,250 grams, and then 900-ish for a lighter one.
Yeah.
So it's always a trade-off with tyres. The thing about the Conti stuff, I'm not sure what they do. It's probably some sort of magic, but it seems to last forever. Like a Kaiser with this special black chili compound will outlast one of these by like 3 or 4 times. It costs nearly twice as much to start with, but they last ages.
Yeah. So this is where I'm struggling to know what to do here.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a tough call. Yeah.
The Kaiser, I absolutely loved it. It is an expensive tyre though. I don't like what kind of prices are we?
Maybe we should double check the pricing, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we've got that would do a similar job. So yeah, that's the Jitsi tyre. Well, you couldn't do that with a Kaiser, I'd say. I mean, that is a pretty supple, lightweight tyre, and the price is pretty good as well. I think he's like 35, 40 quid rather than 65-ish for a Kaiser.
Okay.
So, don't know what you think, man. There's a few options.
We're talking like rubber compound, because obviously you want something really soft compound.
Yeah, soft compound generally is grippier and it'll sort of conform to surfaces and stick on. These are pretty soft. I mean, it's really cold in here, so they get a bit firmer, but this is pretty soft. The Koala, as far as I know, this is a relatively new tyre. Bit of a wacky tread pattern. It's totally different to most things.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. Pretty
similar compound, nice and soft.
Yeah.
But the Kaiser is kind of the daddy. I mean, it's like chewing gum. It's super soft and slow to return, which is the slow return is part of the puzzle in making a tyre grip.
That almost feels like a cinema floor, like when your shoes stick.
Nice, yeah.
That is actually,
maybe in Glasgow, mate. We're not around here.
That is noticeably stick.
Yeah.
I know I like this type. I'm tempted to go with one of these again and go with something newer.
Okay.
Lighter for the front. Yeah. Because I don't think they make my favourite tyre for the front anymore.
What did you like on the front before?
The Trial.
Oh, the Trial. Yeah. None of those, unfortunately. But the Clean and the Jitsi tyres are very, very similar. As far as we're aware, this isn't gospel, but I'm pretty sure they're made by Chengshin, who make all Maxxis tyres.
Okay.
So they're very similar compound, similar carcass, very similar size, very similar weight, just different logo, different tread pattern. Yeah. So as far as we know, the Clean and the Jitsi tyres are very similar to your old Trial that you liked a lot.
Oh really?
Just with the Kevlar beads, so they're a bit lighter. So that could be an option.
Is that front one?
That's the front one, yeah.
Oh, I quite like the meteor. The tread going on in this as well.
Yeah, I think so. Some of the tyres now, they try and pinch weight by making the tread blocks really small. Yeah. So you save weight because there's physically less rubber, but it means that you don't get much wear life out of the tyre. Yeah. At least with this, it's got a bit of height on the tread block. Yeah.
So let's go for one of these and a Kaiser.
Cool.
I reckon, then.
Wicked. Good choice. Obviously, we've got to get the old tyre off before we put the new one. Some people sort of not struggle, but it's one of those things. Getting tyres off is often quite tricky. This hasn't been off, so it could fail. I could fall flat on my face here, but normally if you look at a rim, from this angle, the inside of the rim dips down in the middle. So by using that profile of the rim, it helps you to loosen off the bead. So before you try and take the tyre off, always squeeze it into the middle of the rim, both sides. Let's work it round. And then, I usually start near the valve somewhere. You can lift the whole wheel and tyre and pull the bead. Then work the rest of it into the centre of the rim. And then, my fingers have got enough strength, I've done it right. Not quite, a bit more. Sure. A big stiff old tyre. Not even be a downhill tube as well. Nearly off. There we go.
Now I'm sure some of you know I am tubeless on my street trials bike on my Hex. I'm not going to go tubeless on this for now. It's maybe something I might try in the future, but it certainly should be doable despite the rim being a drilled rim with the massive weight saving holes in. Done right with the right taping, you can still seal a rim with as many holes as this. So in theory, should be doable. I'm not doing it now for money reasons, time reasons, mess reasons, equipment reasons, but yeah, that's an experiment for the future, I think.
So rotation direction, most tyres have got an arrow on, which is here on this tyre. So it wants to run that way. We tend to find that's more for rolling resistance, so it's good on a mountain bike. Imagine you're trying to go up an obstacle, the tyre wants to run that way. Look at the shape of the tread blocks, they're kind of angled forwards here and square at the back. So if you're trying to grip on my hand, the shape of the slope isn't really helping. So if we're trying to go up this, say. So for trials on the back wheel, we'd often swap the tyre around and run it the opposite way to the manufacturer recommends. And then you've got the flat section on the knobbles trying to hook up to the obstacle you're going up.
Yeah, because often our grip is backwards, isn't it, rather than forwards?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're trying to hang off something rather than go down something. So same deal with putting the tyre on as well. Once you get the tube in, the little bit of inflation just so it holds its own shape. Put that in. Start squeezing the tyre on as far around as you can before it gets tight. And these tyres are tight. Get it into the middle of the rim again. We'll give you some slack. Pull a bit more on. There we go.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
What kind of PSI do you reckon for this tyre?
Probably start 25-ish in the front. It's a real personal preference thing. It depends on sort of rider weight, rider style, which tyre you're using to an extent, which rim you're using. But if we start on the higher side, and then if you never actually rim out, never sort of feel the rim touching on obstacles, you're probably a little bit hard, and you can afford to take a bit of pressure out, and that'll give you more sort of tyre wrap around obstacles and a bit more bounce. So just sort of bleed a couple of PSI out every ride until you sort of start to feel yourself just touching the rim every now and then. If you're going out and you're blowing straight through the tyre, straight into the rim and getting pinch flats, then you're way low on pressure and you need a good 5-10 PSI more. So start maybe 25 front, 20 rear, and see how we go from there. And
the lighter weight the tyre, the more PSI, you reckon?
Yeah, generally, because when you do rim out, it has less protection for the tube, and the tyre itself needs a bit more air pressure in there to give it some stability. Whereas if you've got like a Kaiser, as we saw in the warehouse before, the actual carcass of the tyre has so much stability all by itself, you don't need as much air in there.